Wow, these Trump cabinet members and top officials are crumbling under brutal cross-examination by Democratic senators in various hearings today. You've got Donald Trump's Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem, known dog killer, admitting under cross-examination from Democratic Senator Hassan of New Hampshire that Kristi Noem does not even know what the writ of habeas corpus means. She doesn't know what habeas corpus is. Here, play this clip.
So, Secretary Noem, what is habeas corpus?
Well, habeas corpus is a constitutional right that the president has to be able to remove people from this country and suspend their right
let me stop you, ma'am. Habeas corpus, excuse me, that's incorrect.
President Lincoln used it.
Excuse me. Habeas corpus is the legal principle that requires that the government provide a public reason for detaining and imprisoning people. If not for that protection, the government could simply arrest people, including American citizens, and hold them indefinitely for no reason. Habeas corpus is the foundational right that separates free societies like America from police states like North Korea. As a senator from the live free or die state, this matters a lot to me and my constituents and to all Americans. So, Secretary Noem, do you support the core protection that habeas corpus provides, that the government must provide a public reason in order to detain and imprison someone?
Yeah, I support habeas corpus. I also recognize that the President of the United States has the authority under the Constitution to decide if it should be suspended or not.
It has never
Let us be clear, though,
it has never been done. It has never been done without approval of Congress. Even Abraham Lincoln got retroactive approval from Congress.
Well, let me educate you, Kristi Noem. The privilege of the writ of habeas corpus is found in Article 1, which enumerates the powers of Congress. Article 1, Section 9, Clause 2, which reads, "The privilege of the writ of habeas corpus shall not be suspended unless, when in cases of rebellion or invasion, the public safety may require it." Then Democratic Senator Kim has more questions, exposing that Kristi Noem has no clue what the writ of habeas corpus is or where in the Constitution it is. Play this clip.
I wanted to just go back to something that was raised earlier about habeas corpus. Can you confirm to us that you understand that any suspension of habeas corpus requires an act of Congress?
President Lincoln executed habeas corpus in the past with retroactive action by Congress. I believe that any president that was able to do that in the past, it should be afforded to our current day president. This president has never said he's going to do this. He's never communicated to me or his administration that they're going to consider suspending habeas corpus, but I do think the Constitution allows them the right to consider it.
When we saw what happened with, how many times has habeas corpus been suspended in our country?
Once that I know of.
4 times.
For certain. I'm not certain if those were...
The instance that you were referring to was one where the courts subsequently showed that Congress is the one that has the ability. Do you know what section of the Constitution the suspension clause of habeas corpus is in?
I do not. Nope.
Do you know which article it is in?
No, I do not, sir.
Okay, well, it is in Article 1. Do you know which branch of government Article 1 outlines the tasks and the responsibilities for?
Yes.
Which one?
Congress.
Yes.
You would think that would be elementary school type stuff, especially when it comes to people who are either cabinet members or top officials in the Trump administration. They don't even know what habeas corpus is. So Democratic Senator Hassan has more questions for Kristi Noem about it. She's exposed Kristi Noem, so expose her even more. Democratic Senator Hassan from New Hampshire. Here, play this clip.
I have been asking executive branch nominees a simple question over the past few months. If the president orders them to break the law, I've been asking, will you follow the law or follow the order? I want to ask you a more specific question here. If the president tries to suspend habeas corpus and a federal court reverses the president's order, will you comply with the court order and uphold habeas corpus, or will you follow the president's directive?
We are following all federal court orders and are complying with that, as is the president, and every decision that I make as well.
That is obviously not true for anybody who reads the news. There are federal court orders right now, including returning somebody who was deported mistakenly.
But
to be clear, This is about a fundamental legal right that ensures that we live in a free society instead of a police state.
And one of the things that you hear Kristi Noem trying to say, is like the little bit of information she does. Didn't Lincoln suspend the writ of habeas corpus? Well, Congress passed in 1863 the Habeas Corpus Suspension Act during the Civil War. Congress passed the Habeas Corpus Suspension Act, and courts who have looked at this, like the case Ex parte Merriman in 1861, have held this is a congressional power. But Kristi Noem doesn't even know what the writ of habeas corpus is. Now, at the same time, Kristi Noem admits that she doesn't know what the writ of habeas corpus is. Watch Senator Warren's cross-examination of Donald Trump's IRS commissioner, Billy Long, where she has him read the statute that literally says it is unlawful for the United States president or anyone in the government to cause or coerce or threaten the IRS to perform an audit on somebody. And Billy Long, the IRS commissioner, reads the words, but refuses to admit what the words say. Watch this.
I sent you the statute. You've had 3 weeks to talk to the lawyers about it. So let's jump in. Mr. Long, is it illegal for the president to direct the IRS to revoke a taxpayer's nonprofit status?
In the first place, he wouldn't do that. He's not going to come to me and say that. That's not my question, Mr. Long. Please don't start down this. Are we on section 7212 or 7217?
I'm at 26 USC 7217. Do I need to read it to you?
Prohibits any member of the executive branch to request the IRS to conduct or terminate an audit on a taxpayer.
All righty. So is it illegal?
I'm going to follow the law. And if that's the law, yes.
Okay, but I want you, that is the law.
Yeah.
So I just want to be clear. Is it illegal for the President of the United States to instruct the IRS to remove a taxpayer's nonprofit status?
Prohibits any member of the executive branch to request the IRS to conduct or terminate an audit of the taxpayer.
Right. Is that a yes?
I'd have to go to the lawyers at the IRS to tell me.
No, come on. You just read it.
I know, but I don't see the instance that you're speaking about in there. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't see.
Look, it says it shall be unlawful for any applicable person, which in this case includes the president, to request directly or indirectly any officer or employee of the Internal Revenue Service to conduct or terminate an audit or other investigation of any particular taxpayer. Is it illegal for the president to instruct the IRS to remove nonprofit status from a taxpayer?
I'm not going to have the answer that you need. I apologize, but like I said.
Why are you not having the answer? You've had 3 weeks to consult with lawyers. The statute is about as clear as plain English.
Well, if I say I'm going to follow the law, why would you need to ask me the question?
Well, because I want to make sure that you understand what the law says. If you think follow the law means you just get to make it up on the spot, then, Bud, you don't get to be the IRS commissioner.
And again, I think that is a brilliant line of cross-examination for these MAGA Republicans because they're such liars. You have to almost go through a more basic and rudimentary cross with them. Have them read the words and basically refuse to even say what the words say to expose that this is just a death cult at this point, that these are not actual leaders, that these are traitors, that these are Trumpers who will do whatever the hell he says and wants, who are terrified of him, Kim Jong-un style. It's despicable. Ruben Gallego, Democratic senator from Arizona, he then questions Kristi Noem about taking Gulfstream jets and doing Instagram photo shoots while she cosplays and dresses up. And then she's like, I think that the people at Homeland Security really appreciate the way I do that. And then Democratic Senator Gallego, who is a veteran himself, starts saying, you realize that like you don't even know how to hold a gun. Like the way you're holding your weapons shows that you've never held a firearm before, or especially the firearms that you're holding. Watch this.
No idea, but I do spend time out there with our components, making sure that they are know that they have a secretary that's engaged with them, that's visiting with them, seeing what their needs are. No, sir, they're not photos. They've meant the world to the individuals at the Department of Homeland Security. They have meant the world to our ICE agents, our border agents, when they ask me to be out there with them, so they know what they're.
Next up, you have Democratic Senator Murphy cross-examining Marco Rubio about, among other things, Donald Trump holding crypto parties, Donald Trump selling meme coins, Donald Trump selling influence to the White House, bribes, putting the United States for sale for foreign interests. Here's what Rubio says in response. Let's play it.
Let me ask you about the dinner that's happening this Thursday night. The president has offered access to him to the 200 top purchasers of his meme coin. Reports are that maybe about half or more of those individuals who will be meeting with him, many in a VIP reception, are foreigners. Do you have a list of those foreign individuals who will be meeting with the president?
I don't. I don't know anything about it. I didn't even know there was a dinner on Thursday night. So I'm not sure what you're referring to.
So you don't know whether any of the foreign individuals who are going to be meeting with the president this Thursday night, for instance, are on our list of sanctioned individuals, or whether any of those individuals have connections to, let's say, terrorist organizations abroad?
Well, I think if they had terrorist links, the Department of Homeland Security probably would not have allowed them into the country. But I don't even know there is a dinner on Thursday. You're asking me about something I don't know about.
Well, but listen, this is a dinner that the president is having. It is likely going to involve some very significant foreign interests. You have to be pretty wealthy in order to be able to get inside this dinner. Isn't that a relevant question for the Secretary of State?
Yeah, I'm not the social
Which foreign
secretary,
interests are going to be speaking to the president? I mean, it's kind of naive to believe that they aren't going to be in that room talking about national security matters.
Well, I don't think that that's the case at all, because I would be aware if it was the case. The truth of the matter is I interact with government officials and others in governments of other countries. That's what I don't say. You're asking me about a dinner I don't know anything about. I can't answer you because I don't know anything about this dinner. It's the first I heard of it. Like I said, I don't keep the president's social schedule. It's not on my phone. It's not in my pocket. I don't even know. I can't comment on a dinner I know nothing about.
Yeah, I think that represents a real problem for this committee, because there is clearly a way around the State Department for foreign individuals of significant influence and wealth to be able to directly lobby the president of the United States.
But I don't think
your
that's
answer
fair.
is that you don't know this is happening.
Well, I don't know that there's a dinner.
In and of itself is.
I don't know that there's a dinner, and I don't know what the guest list is, but I can tell you, I've run into the president of FIFA from the World Cup. He's here all the time. I see him. He's a private individual. It's not a government entity. And he's met with the president and is friendly with the president. He doesn't have to go through me to meet with the president. The president has relationships and friends and people he's known for a long time. Some of them are foreigners. That's not unusual.
Yeah,
but you're asking me about a specific dinner and implying nefarious impact. I can't comment on a
meeting with
the
president. I think you should probably endeavor to get your hands on the list to make sure that there aren't individuals there who are perhaps contravening national security interests that the
I don't
Department
think
of
I don't
State
have any concern about that. Ultimately, I don't have any concern that the president having dinner with someone's going to contravene the national security of the United States.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
So then Rubio just goes in typical Rubio fashion. He then tries to, just go on this rant about Abrego Garcia. He goes, he's a trafficker. He's a criminal. He's the worst of the worst. He's the gang leader. To which Democratic Senator Van Hollen says, how dare you say that? If you think he's all of those things, you don't send these migrants to concentration camps in El Salvador without due process. Go put him on federal trial and show if the evidence is there. What the hell are you doing? Play this clip.
The whole list. In the case of El Salvador, absolutely. Absolutely. We deported gang members, including the one you had a margarita with. And that guy is a human trafficker, and that guy is a gangbanger, and the evidence is going to be clear. In the days to come, you're going to see who you went to defend.
I'm sorry, Mr. Chairman. Secretary Rubio has the floor. Mr. Chairman, he can't make unsubstantiated comments like that. Secretary Rubio has the floor. Secretary Rubio should take that testimony to the federal court of the United States, because he hasn't done it under oath.
Here's another point.
It's just so wild to me that Rubio's family fled the Castro regime and Rubio became a Castro, right? Rubio is what he fled. Or maybe he was always that to begin with. Maybe that was the point. I don't know, but clearly, whether it's Rubio, whether it's, you see some of the Venezuelans who fled Maduro, who then empowered Trump. You got a worse version of a Maduro here who now revoked your temporary protected status, who's sending you back to Maduro. I don't know how that cannot be made more obvious. Next up, Democratic Senator Blumenthal has some more questionings for Kristi Noem about her gutting of FEMA. Play this clip.
You're about to lose a fifth of your workforce in FEMA, correct?
Mm-hmm. There are individuals in FEMA that are no longer working with us. They may have taken early retirement or deferred retirement.
How are you going to meet the needs of our constituents in Missouri or Connecticut, which suffered floods recently? I saw FEMA in action then, as I've seen them over the years. They are dedicated, vigorous public servants. They appear and spend hours and days and weeks caring for people. You're losing a fifth of them, including most of the leadership. What's your plan to replace
We've got
them?
many people in FEMA that do very good work every day, taking care of people that are in a crisis situation, that are experiencing the worst day of their lives. The problem is that over the years and under the Biden administration, they failed the American people.
You're not answering my question, Madam
I absolutely
Secretary.
am.
How are you going to replace a workforce?
You can't convince me that any federal government agency does a better job just because it has more people. More people does not equal
You're not going to be able to help
better
people
job
in
is
Connecticut
accountability to people and making sure we're taking care of them.
Or anywhere in the country if you don't have the dedicated public servants in FEMA and you're losing them.
Time has expired. Senator Kim.
You then have MAGA Republican Senator Josh Hawley during his questioning time begging, he's from Missouri, begging Kristi Noem, you got to send FEMA into Missouri. We have people dying right now because FEMA has refused, at least as of this recording, and we showed you the mayor of St. Louis, to provide any assistance following the deadly storms. Donald Trump and Kristi Noem don't even acknowledge the deadly storms. They pretend it hasn't taken place. So here's Josh Hawley begging for aid. Play this clip.
Commit to helping for those 3 major disaster declaration requests that are pending. Will you help expedite those, Secretary Noem, and get those in front of the president, get those approved? We are desperate for the assistance in Missouri.
Yes, absolutely.
Thank
Make
you.
sure the application gets to the White House as soon as possible.
Fantastic. Thank you. And can I also have your commitment that if and when the president approves a major disaster declaration for this storm that just happened on Friday in St. Louis, will you expedite as much as possible FEMA individual assistance for those who qualify for it in the St. Louis area?
Yes.
And I want to tell you just how important that is, because as I toured these streets and walked and talked to the residents, what I heard over and over is many of these folks don't have insurance.
Yeah.
Many of these folks, they either got their homes from a family member, or they bought them from a family member, so they don't have a mortgage on the property, and therefore they don't have homeowners insurance. So, as you know, having been a governor, in many instances, FEMA assistance is going to be the only assistance that they're.
Here's more questioning by Democratic Senator Kim to Kristi Noem about, can you confirm your understanding that members of Congress are allowed to show up unannounced and conduct oversight of ICE facilities? Play this clip.
A press release came out from the Department of Homeland Security a couple days ago. It said that members of Congress in New Jersey that went to the Delaney Hall ICE detention facility could, quote, could have just scheduled a tour. I guess I'd just like to hear from you if you can confirm that you understand that members of Congress by law are allowed to show up unannounced to conduct oversight visits of ICE detention facilities.
Yes, they can conduct oversight, but Senator, what I would ask is that they understand that that doesn't mean they could show up with a mob with the intention to break in and assault law enforcement officers. That's what happened at Delaney Hall last week.
You're familiar
is that those individuals and those members of Congress were surrounded by criminals, creating criminal and perpetuating criminal acts.
You understand that
but when
they were
you show up
already
and ask for a tour,
the
we
facility.
facilitated every single tour that every member of Congress has wanted. We've always done that, and we have to, when we have a tour, also make sure that we've addressed security concerns and have enough staff and all of that. And we were accommodating that when those individuals showed up and they decided instead to break in.
You know that they were already on the ICE premise, already facilitating into having the tour when there was the arrest of the mayor. They were not breaking
They had broken through the outer fence and they were interior on federal property when the crimes
occurred. They were invited
occurred.
in by ICE as the ICE was preparing to give them a tour.
That doesn't give them an excuse to start punching law
But you
enforcement
understand that they were not
officers.
storming the fence.
Well, I don't understand. Are you making excuses for their behavior that day?
I'm just trying to clarify what exactly
Oversight is an important part of what Congress does and what you provide to our department, and we welcome it. We give tours when members of Congress ask for it. We just ask that they not be politicized, that they actually are there to provide the oversight that is needed to ensure that we're doing due diligence in our job.
And if I were to show up at ICE detention facility unannounced, I would be let in.
Yes, I would ask that you would be allowing us to secure the officers that we need to give you an appropriate tour, that we'd be able to cover the other bases and posts that they would have to leave to come and facilitate that. We may have to call other people in to help cover some of that because of the extra responsibilities, but we can do that.
I've done this before. I just wanted to make sure I heard that from you. I wanted to
more from Democratic Senator Van Hollen here about like Rubio, like you think it's a national security threat that there are college students who are writing op-eds in USA Today or other periodicals? Like, that's what you're afraid about? Here, play this clip.
A privilege. People apply for student visas to come into the United States and study. And if you tell me that you're coming to the United States to lead campus crusades, to take over libraries and try to burn down buildings and acts of violence, we're not going to give you a visa.
Is that what Ms. Osterk did?
We're not going to give you a visa.
Is that what she did? Come on, Mr. Secretary.
And every single one of these cases, the factors are different.
Senator,
the bottom line is, if you're coming here to stir up trouble on our campuses, we will deny you a visa. And if you have a visa,
First Amendment apply to
we will revoke
living in the United States?
And we're going to do more. There are more coming. We're going to continue to revoke the visas of people who are here as guests and are disrupting our higher education facilities. People are paying money. These kids pay money to go to school, and they have to walk through a bunch of lunatics
to the
who are here on student
papers
visas.
disrupting the foreign policy of the United States.
I want to do more. I hope we can find more of these people.
Pathetic, Mr.
In fact,
Secretary.
the other day, some guys led a riot. I forgot what university it was. And I asked, please, can you find the arrest records of all the people that were arrested at that riot at that campus? Because if any of them have a visa, we're going to revoke it.
I feel so much safer when you lock up people like Ms. Osterk, Ms. Secretary.
We've had enough time on the subject. Thank you very much. And we're going to move to Senator Lee.
That's why I said scorching cross-exam by Democratic senators today. I'm sure there's going to be more incoming as well. We will keep you posted every step of the way. Hit subscribe. Let's get to 5 million subscribers.
Can't get enough Meidas? Check out the Meidas Plus Substack for ad-free articles, reports, podcasts, daily recaps from Ron Filipkowski, and more. Sign up for free now at MeidasPlus.com.